Welcome, everyone. I am Chris Gore. It's the Film Threat Friday Livecast. Today on the show, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal, premieres on streaming. Plus, You Can Call Me Bill. A little happy birthday to William Shatner today. Plus, your comments, questions, and we have a very special interview at the end of the show. That's right. The filmmakers behind Winnie-the-Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 will be on the show today to answer for their crimes against cinema. Boy, they done Disney wrong. Or did they do Disney right? We shall see. Alan Ng is waiting in the wings. It's a Friday. I am amped up. I am ready to go. So let's do this. Oh, we have a lot of other movies we're going to be talking about. This is a big movie review Friday. So get ready for it. Let's get things kicked off. Let's get things started. Let me scroll up past 100 videos to get to our intro. Yeah, I know Alan is somewhere to be found. Where is he? It's hey, let's not get derailed. Let's get we got so much stuff to do. We got so much stuff to do.
Go.
Help me. You gotta help me.
Do it.
Help me.
Go.
Do a show. Jesus fuck. I told you I was amped up.
Alan.
I'm amped up and ready to go.
Do it. Go.
Let's go. Hey, today is William Shatner's birthday. And we gotta, I went and I checked. It's 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern, and the official Star Trek account and the official Star Trek on Paramount Plus have not wished William Shatner, my captain, a happy birthday. Let me see. Oh, well, first of all, yes, if you want to follow me for weird, I look, I'm not as aggressive as you are about Twitter, but this is my Twitter as it is. But I in my replies here, I'll blow it up. I checked, and as of now, no happy birthday. A fifth and final season. This is the last tweet from Paramount Plus, which was nearly it was yesterday. A fifth and final season deserves 5 gorgeous posters. See all of them in this thread. Don't miss the April 4th premiere of Star Trek Discovery, only on Paramount Plus. And I just said,
William Shatner.
Will you be wishing the OG Captain Kirk William Shatner a happy birthday today? Kind of, there would be no Star Trek without him. Just saying, no Star Trek without Shatner. So that did not happen. I'm very disappointed. Let's see who's here.
I don't get it. I mean, did he do something? I don't understand.
He even says in his Twitter bio, I'm not political. He's just sort of straight up tells.
So it's about what he hasn't done.
Oh, right. That's typical.
Thanks, Hollywood.
All right. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of films to review, and we have, in the last 20 minutes-ish of the show, we have our special guests. So I'm excited about that. Hey, let's see who is here on a Friday. Thank you to our new members today. And by the way, if you've not been checking the members, check the members area for exclusive videos. Obviously, you get access to our Discord, and then we do these exclusive videos. Mainly, it's like stuff that Alan and I film, like Q&As for film screenings that we get to go to, or Alan's adventures and reviews of burgers in other states, like Whataburger.
Yeah, when I go to another state, I'll eat their burger and I'll put it in the member.
Hey, new members here. Raul Anui. I probably screwed that. I'm sorry, Raul. Leo Cody. Hey, Leo does some of our amazing videos here. And Michael Bell, thank you for becoming members. Solomon Thornton says Ghostbusters, Dune are in theaters, and soon a new Alien film. What year is it? The 80s? I was thinking that exact same thing because a little teaser drop for Beetlejuice. The sequel to Beetlejuice is called It's called Beetlejuice. You got an Alien movie, Ghostbusters, Dune. It's literally like 1984 because both Dune and Ghostbusters originally came out in 1984. So there you go. Thank you, Solomon. Chris Holmes, is this a sequel to the female Ghostbusters movie, or is this basically an apology for that one? It is a sequel to the Ghostbusters Afterlife. The Ghostbusters 2016 has been wiped from history.
It never existed.
They just ignore it, and I love it. It was not. You know what? I saw that in a theater opening night, and I was one of the 10 people in the theater who was there. Nobody went to see that movie. Anybody that complains about people not seeing certain types of films, it's like, well, you didn't go, you didn't support it. MK Solid 82, these Ghostbusters movies with the original cast are 20 years too late, in my opinion. We wanted to see Bill Murray back decades ago. I should be saving these.
I know we should, because I want to bring that up.
Let me save any Ghostbusters related, any comment about a movie we're talking about today. I'm going to save it so I'm not going to ignore your comment. I'm just going to save it for when we talk about it. Matthew Hammond, thank you very much for your generous super chat, but I'm going to save the comment for when we talk about Ghostbusters. A couple more comments here before we launch in. CD Stein 69 says, hail Chris, Alan, Ms. P Coffee, and the rest of you beautiful drunks in the Film Threat chat. Can't wait to see Late Night with the Devil tonight, my most anticipated horror movie of the year. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a good time. Although the movie is getting this weird criticism on social media about they could have used AI for some of it. Like, here's the deal. The movie is set in the early 70s, and they wanted it to be authentic to that era. I wasn't even thinking of that dumb. The criticism that's being thrown around is very unfair.
They're criticizing it because it didn't use AI. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're criticizing it because it didn't use AI.
That is,
could have used that.
Where have we?
It is the dumbest criticism I've
Why
heard.
do we listen to the internet?
Yeah,
I mean, we're on the internet, but
yeah. Film Facet just saw the trailer for In a Violent Nature. Looks amazing. Thank you, Film Facet. And Sons and Shadows, one of my in-laws has been friends with Shatner for years. I keep hearing he's a great guy and super funny. I've met him only a few times in convention settings. He's really nice. He's really nice. I think he's very happy. It does annoy me and a lot of other fans, I think. Why is he not given respect from, basically the people who have shepherded the brand, Paramount? Why, Alan? Do you have any insights into this? It is a little frustrating.
Again, I think it's because of what he doesn't say. I just. Sorry, we're gonna censor my dog for a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can say
She's going at it. She's going at it like a beast.
All right, censor your dog. Censor your dog, Alan.
Yeah, But I respect the guy so much, and the few times that I have met him, always cordial, always, and maybe that's his public persona in the sense that he plays cordial, but he just seems like a nice guy.
Right. Yep, I would agree.
Yeah.
By the way, breaking news: Civil War tickets just went on sale for Civil War in IMAX. I believe you and I are seeing it the Monday before it opens.
Yeah. In fact, the Monday before we head off to Vegas.
Yes, we will be in Vegas. By the way, please RSVP. We still have room for our Tuesday meetup at the Millennium Fandom Bar in Las Vegas. Tickets are free. There can be a lot of giveaways, and join myself, Alan. I believe Dante will be there. Other folks from the Film Threat crew. Actually, I think a bunch of the people from FNT. It's sort of like the pre-FNT meetup. A lot of the FNT people are just going to be there. So if you did not RSVP for their meetup, Tuesday, April 9th, 7 p.m. at the Millennium Fandom Bar in Vegas. I think we're going to go 7 to midnight. Should be a lot of fun. So join us there. Link to the RSVP will be in the description. Thank you, Ms. P Coffee. All right. And then Blue-eyed Scorpio for 199 says, is the Alan Ing kind of like the Fappening?
That's a weirdly stated question. I had moves when I was a kid.
You really like ice cream, don't you?
I love ice cream.
All right. Thank you, blue-wide Scorpio. See what you did there. Love it. All right. We got a lot of films to review. We're going to get, as people begin to pile in, because, they're watching G&G Daily or X-Ray Girl, play video games. We are going to what? One last comment, and then we're gonna get to our first review. We will get to Ghostbusters in about 15 minutes. 200 Watt Studio for 5 says, we interviewed Shatner at an awards event years ago. Total pro.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome. Love his convention talks. He's very brutally honest.
Yeah, he's very thoughtful. He's thoughtful. He doesn't take life lightly.
Yes.
And I don't know. It's something weird about that kind of person that people just not, or the mainstream media seems to dislike so much.
Yeah, you mean someone filled with positivity and hope for the future? Yeah, that's not really something that's pushed enough. So Shatner's spirit, is just, it's when you're in a room with him, you can feel it.
Yeah,
feel it. Hey, Bill S. Preston Esquire says, ice cream, refrigerators, boobs. What doesn't Alan like? True. And Patrick Lemire says, you make me feel like dancing. There you go. Okay, that just means we're going to play that clip over and over again. I think that's serious. Okay.
We need to cut that one down to 10 minutes. 10 seconds.
Yeah. All right, let's get to, all right. You saw a movie called Snack Shack. Let's make that our first review.
Yeah.
I got to find something here. I don't think we need 3 or 4 pictures for every movie. Just a note. We don't need 3 or 4 photos for every movie. Probably 1 or 2, especially if it's a small indie movie. What? Okay, and also
we were instructed 3. That's
okay. Inged is going to be a thing. All right, Alan, you saw the movie Snack Shack. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Snack Shack is kind of a coming of age movie. It takes place in the early 90s. Features 2 kids, AJ and Moose, and played by Connor Sherry and Gabriel Lebel. And these are basically freshmen in high school, end of the year. All year they've been goofing off, causing trouble. They've been brewing their own beers at Moose's house. They get along. For some reason, when they get into an argument, it always ends with someone getting neck punched or wrestled to the ground. It's kind of weird, but summer is coming. AJ is getting in a lot of trouble with his parents. They found the beer. They're threatening to send him to military camp unless he shapes up. And so the two decide that they need to make some money because their beer venture went awry. And they decide to run the Snack Shack at the local swimming pool, community pool for the summer. And that's just kind of what this movie is. It's about them, their friendships. It's a coming of age. Oh, and I mention there's a girl involved. Her name is Brooke. She is very, very pretty. And they kind of fight over her. And so this whole movie is just about them running the Snack Shack, hitting on this girl and who her true intentions are for. And I will say it's pretty over the top. It's not like one of those wacky 80s comedies where it's just joke after joke, but it gets pretty extreme in the sense of shoot, these kids are 14 and they're about to hook up with this junior girl. They're making beer. I think people who this at this time I was in that era where every movie I was watching was being scrutinized from a Christian perspective. This is not going to meet that at all. It's 1991. I had a lot of fun with this, but I don't think it's going to be for everyone. This is definitely not a movie you're going to take the kids to.
So
You
is
know,
it so
I
is
think
it
that
R-rated? Is it?
it is. I believe it's R-rated. It should be. Can you scroll on there? It should tell you.
Yeah,
Scroll up. I think it's at the
yeah,
top. Yeah,
yeah,
it's R-rated.
R-rated. So
Yeah,
it looks
mostly
like
for
an old.
language.
It looks like
Mostly.
an old school movie that I used to see in high school that they don't make anymore.
Yeah, and that's exactly this. I think you know it's. I fall short of calling it a teen sex comedy, just
Mhm.
because this is a much more grounded movie in terms of the drama itself, the acting, and the story. It's just a bunch of kids trying to make some money over the summer, and then falling in love. And it does get a little bit raunchy here and there. And again, I think parents, if you're sensitive about watching 14-year-olds drink beer and make out and like really make out, you might have a problem with it. And I think that's the thing that stuck with me throughout this whole movie was, whenever it got to like these adult situations, I'm thinking in my mind, this kid's 14 years old, or at least portrayed to be 14 years old.
Mhm.
It just said, maybe if they had boosted it a year, made him close to 16, I might have been less uncomfortable about it. But I will tell you, I laughed. I had fun with it. It's got a heart to it, which is good. There's things you connect with, and it falls into that time period before cell phones. And I think for some reason, stories like this work so well when you're not doing it in modern times and not doing it in the cell phone and social media generation. And
Do you
I think there's a lot of charm to this film.
do you notice something about it as I was kind of looking at the trailer and whatnot?
Uh, not specific. If you're thinking about something specific, no.
There's it's sort of there's not a lot of diversity. It's like
No.
an all-white cast, and
Yeah.
it's like that's kind of rare. I'm just saying it's something worth noting
Mhm.
now when everything is sort of a forced diversity. This is it's a period film set in the early 90s in a certain place.
Yeah, it's the Midwest. It's Iowa. It's right Iowa and Kansas, right at the border there. And
By the way, wasn't William Shatner, excuse me, wasn't Captain Kirk born in Iowa? Isn't he from Iowa?
I believe so. That could have
There
been
you go.
him. Yeah,
Could have
AJ could
been.
have been Captain Kirk, or Moose could have been Captain Kirk.
So it looks sort of just like basic fun, like
Mhm.
almost like what I do like is when you see a film that gets made and is released to theaters and it sort of it basically resists modernity. That's
Mhm.
not only saying this from what you've said and what I've seen. So uh
Yeah, I
is
mean,
that true?
let's see. I mean, I think so.
With
Uh,
14-year-olds drinking beer, I guess it does.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean that was my big issue. Is I would have loved to have the cast been a little bit older for for what happens in this movie. And the thing is, when you cast 20-year-olds to play 14-year-olds, you kind of forget that they're playing 14-year-olds, and so you kind of forgive what goes on.
Right.
Um, yeah, all white cast. I mean, it's Iowa, for crying out loud. If this was shot in LA, I think you would have more diversity in it. But no, I had fun with this, and
So you
yeah,
recommend it.
absolutely recommend it. For uh, it's kind of like I always fight because the Christian me says no, I couldn't do this, but the one who likes comedy and likes good storytelling definitely like this movie.
Well, the non-Christian in me is interested. So
Yes,
there you go.
and the
Hey,
girl is very hot. So
wait, could you repeat that?
no, I'm not gonna repeat that. You had the clip already. I'm not gonna say it again. But yeah,
All
she's hot.
right. So quick comments here, and then we're going to talk about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Here we go. Patrick Lemire, no Oscars for you. Davina Duckworth, Adventureland. It did kind of give me that vibe.
Mhm.
MK Solid 82. This is like the movie Wonderland with Kristen Stewart. Yeah. Makeshift Mulder. It looks like Wet Hot American Summer. Oh, Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah, yeah.
Quick
You know what I
tip
like
about
about
that.
this?
And
Uh,
JTPRX says you had me at raunchy,
yeah.
and then Suns and Shadows says this catches my interest. Thank you for doing a review on Snack Shack.
The
It
one thing I really like about this is that it really has no stars in it. Like I've never heard of the the main cast members. They've been in stuff, but they're relatively unknown. Which compared to like Adventureland and the other one, you kind of know these people. The parents are hilarious. Dave is a custom noble. He's my favorite character in Billions, and he plays the father. He does a really good job about it. So,
Sons and Shadows says, Midwesterners drink beer before 14. Wisconsin born and bred over here. I think that was when I had my first beer at 14. And what was the name of the beer? It was a Canadian beer.
Molson.
I think it was a Molson, because I remember like these short green cans. Might have been Mickey's or something. I don't know.
I will say they drink a lot of beer and no one ever gets drunk.
From Rumble, Joe Kuhn. I grew up an hour away from where this movie takes place. There was more diversity than you might think, but I didn't realize it until I moved away. Wasn't something we thought about. That's the other thing about the 90s. Nobody thought about stuff like that. Just nobody cared. Nobody cared. It didn't really matter. It's like, whatever.
I mean, I grew up in an all-white neighborhood, but there's still a lot of diversity in LA, and diversity didn't matter to anybody until you got to college, when they told you it mattered and told you to be offended by these things.
Right. Okay. I think it's time to talk about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Just a sec. I'm going to reset here. Well, here's what I'm going to show you. This is the first music video for a documentary. Have you ever heard of a documentary having a music video? You ever heard that?
Well, music documentaries.
I'm really getting inged. Well, I don't understand. I'm really getting inged. All right, Alan, it's time to talk about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is the follow-up to Ghostbusters Afterlife, kind of picking up from the events of that film. And it's a story about, of course, an evil soul from the past is unleashed on New York City, freezing people to death. We saw it in the trailer. What the movie it does is it's balancing the new cast that has been introduced from Ghostbusters Afterlife. Of course, we have the cast of the new and sure to love characters, Phoebe Spengler, Trevor Spengler, played by Finn Wolfhard and McKenna Grace, respectfully. You've got Paul Rudd as Mr. Gruberson, former teacher, now Ghostbusters, who's with Carrie Coon, the mother of Trevor and Phoebe. They are now Ghostbusters, staying at the old Ghostbusters firehouse, funded by Winston. That's Ernie Hudson's character. He's funding all this research into ghosts. Dan Aykroyd, of course, reprising his role as Ray Stantz, who owns a shop that has this is funny, with the character played like Logan Kim. His name is Podcast. I thought Podcast was funny in Afterlife. And they're searching for possessed items. And then that is then funneled to the research being done by Winston and his team. And they go, and even William Atherton is back as Walter Peck. Yes, this man has no dick. If you recall from the very first Ghostbusters. So what it's doing is what Ghostbusters movies do. It's a lot of the same stuff that we've seen. Opening scene with a ghost that freezes people to death, cut to present day where all of our characters are. And this movie has a lot to do. It's the legacy of the OG cast, including, of course, Bill Murray, who comes in around Act 3 as Dr. Peter Venkman. So it's balancing like OG cast, new cast, and then even like not just that, like not only do you have the Ghostbusters, you have the Ghostbusters researchers, which is a whole other team of characters. Lucky, played by Celeste O'Connor. Patton Oswalt plays a librarian, and Kumail Nanjiani is Nadim Razmadi as he's sort of a lazy, aimless, directionless, I don't want to say kid, adult man who's just selling off his grandmother's items just for cash, just so he can get money that he needs. but he plays an integral role in the film later on. Annie Potts is also back as well from the original Ghostbusters. And this, as I say all of these things out loud, listing the cast and everything, it brings up what the big problem with this movie is. It's trying to do too much. There is the overall big story, of course, of this demon spirit from the past that will lay waste to people on Earth. But there are so many B stories. You know, Trevor is 18 now and wants to be treated like an adult and just drive the Ghostbusters car. McKenna Grace, just Phoebe's character, she just wants to be able to be a Ghostbuster, but she's only 15 and she shouldn't be, you know, playing with all of these dangerous toys. There is literally a B story for every character, trying to balance them all up. Paul Rudd's character, Mr. Gruberson, just wants to, is he their dad? Is he not? They're not married, but he's the boyfriend. So that's all awkward. Then you've got Ernie Hudson, you know, as Winston, and his whole research team. That's a whole other thing. There's so much going on in this movie. It felt like a season of the Ghostbusters TV show. You know, have you ever watched those things where it's just like, hey, what happened in season 1 of Game of Thrones? And then you can actually watch like a 20-minute video that tells you all the main story beats of a season of television. That's what I felt like I was watching. I can't say I didn't enjoy it. It had its moment. It had its moments. But man, I felt like parts of the script were very forced. I felt like there were the B stories, and I do have to give them credit. The fact that they had so many B stories was weird. And then Phoebe, you know, played by McKenna Grace, who someone showed me a picture of what she looks like in real life. She's an attractive woman. I'm not sure what her age is, but I can check right now. She seems like she's 17 years old.
Yeah, I was gonna say old enough to make whatever you're gonna about to say not sound creepy.
I'm not gonna say. First of all, I wasn't gonna say that. I wasn't
Okay.
gonna say that at all. Don't make the assumption, Alan. But it felt like this movie was trying to do so many things. One of the things that I enjoyed my experience seeing the movie is it felt just about the right running time, like around 2 hours. I can double check. It was an hour 55. So right on with the running time. The other thing was the audience was into it. That actually added to the experience.
Mhm.
The audience, I mean, when I went to the AMC Burbank 16, someone had a Ghostbusters vehicle there. There was a whole team. I guess there's an LA branch of Ghostbusters fans that all dress up, and they were raising money for charity. If you gave them money, they would give you like a snack or a toy. So they were just doing like a fundraising for charity. And I haven't seen the theater this packed since Dune Part 2 opened. So it felt like, wow, it feels like a summer movie. There was all this excitement in the air, every Ghostbusters t-shirts everywhere. So it was people really were hyped for this. I'm not sure exactly how well this will do at the box office. Critics are split. It's currently 45% on Rotten Tomatoes, but at least on Google, and I'll check, 91% like it. I believe the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 86%.
Yeah. I mean, I took
there you
my daughter and she was really into it. She really liked this movie.
Well, it's weird. This is the flaw of this film, is trying to do so many things. You've got like bringing in a young cast, right? So you're bringing in like, you know, McKenna, right? And she's as Phoebe, she represents the young. Then you got the OG, which is like, oh, wait, there's Bill Murray. So someone like me who saw Ghostbusters in 1984, I mean, I just got out of high school. Like I was like, and this movie, like, first of all, it's the best movie with an SNL cast ever made.
The first one.
Well, the first Ghostbusters, yes.
Yeah.
Now, Ghostbusters 1984
Right.
with an SNL cast, because they would make these SNL movies and they were always sort of mixed. Like, that wasn't very good. They were just sort of capitalizing, or they would take a sketch from SNL and then they would make it into a movie.
Coneheads.
Like it's Pat. It's Pat is actually a movie.
Yeah.
The other thing that really I could not believe, I did obtain. Yes, I obtained one of the popcorn buckets. I got this at the Regal. $25 comes with popcorn, and it's like it's a prop replica that when you do this, it opens up. So there you go. I can catch and contain ghosts in this thing. Also popcorn, but it's kind of a cool prop replica.
Yeah. Well,
Alan, you got
this is the AMC one. It's got the popcorn catcher on top. It also lights up, so when you put popcorn in it, you turn it on, the light comes up from underneath the popcorn.
Well, that
was much more expensive than yours.
There's $40.
Yeah.
$25 for this. $40.
I got popcorn out of it at least.
Well, there you go. But look, I enjoyed myself enough to give this kind of a soft recommendation. I'd say 6.5, 7. But the flaws really stand out. The other thing that was unusual, we'll talk about this, is Phoebe has a relationship with the ghost character. I forget her name. What was her name?
It was a Melody.
Melody at the Melody Diner. She starts playing. She's lonely. She goes out. First of all, this is the other thing that was incredibly unrealistic about this film. It's set in New York, and a 15-year-old girl is by herself in a park in New York playing chess at night with a ghost. Okay. And there's a weird sort of they almost
weird
went
tension
there.
Maybe
a weird sexual tension, which is like, so that's weird. There's like parts that made me cringe, and then parts that really made me smile, like reminded me of like, oh, this is like, and it's not.
Let's be clear, they don't do anything, but the way they look at each other, it's just these subtle, the subtle way they're shot, and the reactions they give to each other leads you to believe that there's maybe some tension there, but it's never acted upon. And I just find that, Frozen. That's what people are bringing up. They're pulling the Frozen here, where it's kind of like, will they? Are they? Well, we're not going to tell you.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you if there's a ghost lesbian, but it probably is a ghost lesbian. And that was like, so it's like, it gets a mild recommendation from me. I really think and I think part of the reason I actually did enjoy it is my expectations were so low. So I can't say I hated the film. It's just, my God, like every subplot and kudos to the filmmaker. It was not Jason Reitman. He's credited as a co-writer on it. The director is Gil Kenan.
Yeah, Keenan.
So yeah. So I mean,
it was co-written by Jason Reitman.
Right. Gil and Jason were the credited co-writers. It's fine in that sense. I think the script feels a little forced, especially in the beginning, the banter with the family at the beginning. But they're going after that dragon ghost at the very beginning, the opening action sequence where we come to present day. And so, you know what? I think the audience sort of convinced me to like it, because there were when certain characters came on screen, you heard people clap. Certain lines, when there's a scene, and this is in the trailer, where Paul Rudd is basically quoting the lines from the Ghostbusters song, but it's in conversation, is very funny. And Paul Rudd's just, he's just oozing charisma and is likable whenever you see him. Man alive.
Yeah.
What's that?
Sexiest man alive.
Yeah. I mean, God, he's in his 50s. He looks great. Gives me inspiration. But no, so mild recommendation from me. If you go in with low expectations, probably going to have a good time. It is leaning so heavily into member berries, and it's like, fine. But the one thing is, it just, other than the sort of ghost lesbian stuff, it wasn't super distracting. It wasn't like, it
wasn't woke.
If you're ranking this on best to worst Ghostbusters movies, while I like actually Afterlife because of the introduction of the new characters, and its heart was in the right place because of the finale of Ghostbusters Afterlife, this is trying to please everyone, not quite succeeding, but at least I appreciate it for the effort. So mild recommendation for me. Alan, what did you think?
Yeah, my gut reaction coming out of the theater was basically, I think I kind of go 50-50 on it because if I were to list out everything I liked about the movie, I could equal it with, I could create an equal number list of everything I didn't like about this movie.
Oh, that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, there were like moments where when I'm thinking about what I was going to say during the stream here, there are moments where I say, well, I kind of liked it, but then I have to always counter it with this. I'll give you the big thing for me as a fan of the original. The reason I like the first Ghostbusters wasn't because of the ghosts or the busting. It was the fact that Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray were in it, because those were my SNL guys, and then it was Rick Moranis and Harold Ramis, which were my SCTV guys. And to have a movie to kind of blend the two worlds together of what I thought was great American comedy at that time, that's why I liked the first Ghostbusters. Dan Aykroyd would kind of be the straight guy. Bill Murray would have his quips. Harold Ramis was just weird. Ernie Hudson was kind of the foundation of it as well. And that's why I liked the original Ghostbusters. Unfortunately, Harold Ramis isn't with us anymore. Bill Murray is in it barely. He does his Bill Murray thing for maybe less than 2 minutes. And it's, and I liked seeing Dan Aykroyd, but this is not the original Ghostbusters. There's nothing about what I loved about the original Ghostbusters that are in this. At the same time, I kind of appreciate the direction they're going. I think they are trying to get a younger audience. I think the original Ghostbusters were for adults. This is more for the Gen Z, young millennial audience. And so, it's just kind of a mixed bag. This is not the Ghostbusters that I remember, but I can't say that they've ruined Ghostbusters. I think they've kind of found a way to progress it and hand it off to a new generation. And I think that's what it has going for it. But, not a perfect movie. It had its moments. There were scary moments, which is good. So yeah, I'm like you. I give it a very mild recommendation, like a 6.5.
Yeah, and oddly, I thought Kumail Nanjiani was actually pretty good. I was expecting to cringe. He actually was pretty good. I thought.
Yeah.
I thought what?
I felt like he was just being he was trying to be a goofball, and it's kind of like you kind of, I don't know. It's
no,
like
it worked for me.
To me, he was trying to be the new Bill Murray of the crew, and you just can't do that. I was not impressed with his performance.
All right, well, fair enough. So
the other Asian, though, I did like podcast.
Oh yeah, no, I thought podcast was a standout in Afterlife just because just such a weird. And first of all, I even remember the character's name, which is saying something. I had to look up some of the others.
Yeah, I didn't even remember Lucky's name.
Yeah. But no, you know what? It was unexpectedly better than it was better than expected. And we all walked out of the theater. I mean, there were a lot of us. We all walked out of the theater and was like, that wasn't a disaster, which is a weird thing, to say about a movie, right? Like,
I know. I hate to say it.
Suck.
I just feel like movies today in the last 2 years were like, if it doesn't suck, it's great. That's the threshold of it wasn't horrible. That's as good as it gets with movies nowadays.
Right. Well, so there you go. I think it's sort of a mild recommendation from Alan and I. Is that fair?
Yeah, I can't tell you that you shouldn't see this movie. I mean, again,
yeah, what a weird thing to say.
We're counting this review as, yeah, it's good. Blah.
Yeah, but I think it's also because did we need another Ghostbusters movie? And I think after the Ghostbusters Afterlife did what we originally wanted in a Ghostbusters reboot, although I would have been happy. There just for some more nitpicks, the weird ghost lesbian thing, which was weird. I feel like you could have cut out a lot of subplots of this and tightened it a lot. The other thing was there's a conversation with Winston Winston and why am I spacing and Ray Stantz where they talk about golden years. We just need to retire. How about you just need to not have that conversation? Why is that even a conversation? I don't care. That this is like a conversation that some people feel is necessary in a movie. Let's point out how the characters are old and that didn't work in Indiana Jones. It was awful.
Mhm.
They should have spoke about something else, about maybe like legacy, and we have a responsibility to continue to, we can't do it all ourselves. We need more Ghostbusters. We're the thing stopping the spirit realm from destroying us here on Earth. Like, they should have had a larger conversation about the responsibility as a Ghostbuster, right?
Mhm.
So the tone was a little off for me, where it was like moments of seriousness and actual scares mixed with like goofy, offhanded. We sort of destroyed some stuff in the city. We broke some things, but we saved New York. I mean, it
Well,
got a little,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's in the first movie, in the original Ghostbusters,
Right, right.
and because you had Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, those discussions of, yeah, you destroyed half the city, was a hilarious conversation. Here it's a bunch of teens who do it, and the tone is just very different. And I mean, ultimately the question is let's assume that there's going to be another Ghostbusters movie. If you remove the original cast now, which I think you can do, does this franchise have any legs behind it?
Well, we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah.
Let's go to your comments and questions here, starting with Matthew Hammond for 499. I enjoyed Frozen Empire more than Afterlife. I would agree.
Yeah.
My main complaint is that they shoehorned the Spengler family as Ghostbusters. The bad guy was great. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good villain. That was a very good villain.
The villain was good. The villain was good. And Matthew Hammond goes on to say for 999, very generous. Thank you for that. Ghostbusters needs a soft reboot where Winston franchises the Ghostbusters, cast comedians in most of the roles. Mike Rowe could do a Dirty Jobs episode to introduce the new cast of veteran Ghostbusters. That would be kind of cool. Where like are ghosts only in New York City? Aren't ghosts all over the place? So they could franchise it out, and then it's it would be a lot. That is a good idea. But then I think what you do is that's just a TV series then. So who would do it? Would it be on, I mean, Sony doesn't have a streaming service, but I guess you could put it on Netflix or something.
Mhm.
But that's what it felt like. There were so many B stories, subplots, that it felt like an entire season of story smushed into one film.
Yeah, but at the same time, I didn't feel lost at all. I think
Yes.
considering it, there were so many B stories. The writers, directors handled it very well. Gil Keenan handled it very well. And so, it's like, when I ask the question of does the franchise have legs, my gut tells me it doesn't. I can't imagine with the Spengler family. I don't know that family can hold a film and create a new franchise.
Right. 200 Watt Studio says Alan saying the girls were snacks in Snack Shack.
Yeah.
Well, there you go there. Other super chats here from Henry back to play for 499. Hail everyone. Happy 93rd birthday to William Shatner, aka Captain Kirk.
Happy birthday.
200 Watt Studio goes on to say OG Ghostbusters was great because it was about guys that were the worst people you'd want to fight.
Mhm.
Ghosts taking over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are sort of like,
That's-
especially Bill Murray.
Mhm.
When they kind of repeat the scene in this where he's doing the test on do you have psychic powers, and he's basically giving the young girl the edge, in the first Ghostbusters. That's such a great scene.
And the shock therapy,
and the shock
negative
therapy.
reinforcement.
Yeah, and they kind of do a little play on that in this. That was fine. There were
Yeah,
lots
and
of
then there was that
references.
the romantic twist between him and Sigourney Weaver. And,
Yeah.
But we got the lesbian ghost, so
We got lesbian ghosts. More comments here. From Golden Spider Duck. I love Bill Murray. I have no interest in seeing this. Ghostbusters is an awesome movie, but everything needs to be a universe. Not everything needs to be a universe. That's kind of what it's just like ever since Marvel, like it's the connected universe. First of all, not the first time that's happened. Universal Monsters did that, what, in the 40s,
Yeah.
30s and 40s, where they took all the monsters and remember Abbott and Costello meet Dracula?
Mhm.
Was it Frankenstein? One of those. And they had kind of a connected universe of the Universal Monsters way back when. So it's not an original concept.
Yeah, but I will say I think they're skewing Ghostbusters younger. I
Yeah.
think I think for me to say it's not necessarily for us, I think that's true, and I'm not necessarily mad about that. Not like me saying that about Star Wars or me saying that about Marvel being not for us.
Yeah.
I think this one is fine if they want to skew it younger, and we'll see if they can do it.
Right. Super chat here from Fear the Turtle 21 for 10. March Madness and Film Threat stream. Thanks for making my Friday more awesome every week, guys. Well, thank you, Fear the Turtle. That's very generous. Enjoy your March Madness.
Yeah.
And Tom Siebert here with a great comment.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, that is absolutely correct. So much has been so bad that okay feels stellar. That is dead on comment of the day, because that's how it felt. It felt like, well, this is okay. It's not overly cringe with modernity, which we've come to kind of expect and kind of roll our eyes. And so it's like, it's okay. And that just feels what's going on here. That just, yeah. From Rumble, Joe Kuhn, Alan's nailing it here. The new characters are all samey. They're all unsure of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Killick69 says, no thanks. I am saving my money for Beetlejuice. And do they do pottery? Says Red Pilled Rants. They do not do pottery like Ghost. From Rumble, Joe Kuhn, I enjoyed the movie, but it made me think that the art of great dialogue is dead. I thought the dialogue, especially in that opening scene, felt so forced.
Yeah.
They're all kind of like this banter. It just felt forced. And they weren't like selling it. Like I didn't believe that they believed they were saying it, and was too quippy and not real. But it made me think that the art of great dialogue is dead. The original had some of the greatest lines in movie history. This could only echo those and not give new ones.
Yeah. I mean, weirdly, the original, you have Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis. In a weird way, those characters were already established before the Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And so when they talk to each other in their way, it just felt familiar because these actors, their work. You can't really say that about the Spengler family.
Yeah. It's it just yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's the thing.
Was a showcase for the old SNL cast.
People went to go see the original Ghostbusters in 1984 because they knew Dan Aykroyd from SNL, Bill Murray from SNL. They knew
other Moranis from SCTV and
SCTV and Harold Ramis from SCTV. Like it was like the combining of Canada and America's comedians into.
Yeah,
I love SCTV.
That's a SCTV. That's a Second City cast right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're very familiar with themselves.
They took the best and then just, and Dan Aykroyd, this was his Ghostbusters. The original was Dan Aykroyd's passion project. He really believes this stuff, right? Like his character in the shop. That's like, really, you can find plenty of interviews with Dan Aykroyd where he talks about spirit realm stuff. Like, and the one thing interesting about AMC theaters, they actually have a special cocktail made from his Crystal Head vodka, which is Dan Aykroyd's vodka company. Yeah. So AMC theaters, I forget, it's like a frozen. I can try to find it.
Well, what's interesting is that his dialogue felt natural to him.
Yes,
it wasn't an actor trying to remember lines and recite them. He believed what his character was saying.
Firehouse Frost at MacGuffin's Bar. So there you go. You can get a Firehouse Frost, and you can find them at AMC theaters. So there's the recipe. I think I found the recipe. Let me share screen here. So show this, because I am a sucker for movie themed cocktails. So here it is. Bustin' makes us feel good. And it's the Okay, they got all the. Where is it? I just had it. It was the fight. Here it is. The Crystal Head, Firehouse Frost, Dan Aykroyd's Crystal Head vodka, and an Ectoblast of fruity flavors. So there you go. For 21 and over, in order to get that drink, that's what you have to do. Well, that actually makes a lot of sense to me. So there you go. Some other comments here. The Milkman says, I've tried it. It's excellent vodka. I have also tried it. It's very excellent vodka.
Yeah.
Solomon Thornton says Eddie Murphy was supposed to be in Ghostbusters, but he chose Beverly Hills Cop.
Good choice.
God, it's too bad he couldn't have done both.
Yeah.
You imagine how different Ghostbusters would have been with him in
with
it?
Eddie Murphy and yeah. Actually, that was been pretty
instead of
cool.
Ernie Hudson. I mean, I like Ernie Hudson. But he doesn't come in until the third act. They kind of throw him in there. But yeah, that's
he's kind of the Tony Stark, which is very different than the original.
yeah.
In
the new one, yeah. Alan Horkin says Americans knew SNL. The rest of the world watched for Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
True. And Jim T says, seems as if movies of the 80s were so much better than the movies of today. We're literally, this year is the 80s. Dune came out in 1984. Same with Ghostbusters. You got Dune, Ghostbusters, a new Alien movie, which I actually really like that trailer. A new Beetlejuice movie. We are living the 80s. I mean, I'm wearing a Back to the Future inspired Film Threat shirt. Go to shop.filmthreat.com. Yeah, you should go to shop.filmthreat.com. Why aren't you there right now to pick something up? I don't plug this enough. And also, by the way, we've got almost over 900, maybe 1,000 people watching, if you include Rumble, watching live. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. We appreciate it. We appreciate that. And thank you for that. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. We got the movie logo collection. There's Rollerball, Godzilla, Atreides approved shirt inspired by Dune. You can pick up my movie on Blu-ray, Attack of the Dock. There you go. There you go. So go to shop.filmthreat.com. Link in the description. More comments here, and then we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Roadhouse because I stayed up late to talk about Roadhouse, Alan.
Yeah. Talk about another. Is that an 80s movie or am I thinking 90s?
That's also another 89, the original Roadhouse.
And then Fall Guy.
And Fall Guy. I mean, literally, we're reliving the 80s. This is how creatively bankrupt Hollywood is.
Garfield, the movie.
200 Watt Studio for 5 says Dan Aykroyd even hosted a Canadian X-Files knockoff with his brother called Sci Factor. Seasons 2 through 4 are the best. Matt Frewer was the Mulder character. Oh, wow. Interesting. John Candy passed on Ghostbusters as well, says Sons and Shadows. And Tucker Time. Eddie Murphy and John Belushi both. Wow, can you imagine John Belushi and Ghostbusters? That would have been amazing. Hey, Jeff. Carnell for 5. Hail FT, having the Ecto-1 whipping through New York City streets with no bumper-to-bumper traffic was very hard to believe. I still had a good time. Yeah, like that was the thing about New York was just like, where are the tent cities? Where are like the people sleeping on the streets? Where are the fentanyl zombies and the rampant crime?
Well, I'll tell you the big illogic to me was, you have all these icicle spikes coming up from the ground, and yet no one got impaled.
Well, I mean, it's not an R-rated movie, but there are some parts that are, hey, Cardinal.
The odds are so, at least one person would have been impaled in a horrific manner at some point.
Thank you, Carnell. Appreciate you. And Laura Buckles says the original Ghostbusters was great, but how often do you hear people talk about Ghostbusters 2? They don't. Ghostbusters 2 was a big disappointment.
Yeah. In fact, would you rank Ghostbusters 2 at the bottom of the Ghostbusters movies?
Here's when you can create a movie franchise with all you need is 2 good movies.
Mm-hmm.
Terminator 1, Terminator 2, very good. Terminator 3, Ghostbusters 1, really good. Ghostbusters 2, not great, not a franchise. Star Wars, the original, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, 2 really amazing movies. Return of the Jedi, not as good, in my opinion. I know others will push back on that. That's fine. But yeah, I really feel like once you've established you have one really great movie, then you have a second movie, then you have a franchise. But you need 2 movies solid to launch a film franchise. That's my
Yeah.
I am
But
of that personal opinion.
well, I mean, two things. One, you have the TV series, which did very well, and then you could have capitalized on that, but then you had a Bill Murray at that time, who was kind of playing recluse, and I think I remember listening to him on Howard Stern saying how long he held on to that Ghostbuster 3 script, so long that they couldn't make it.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. They should have made and like here
And it was Bill Murray who held it up.
Donald J. Skywalker said they should have concentrated on OG characters teaching the new, or just the OG characters. I don't even think you don't need to. You could bring in some fresh blood, mix it up, make it interesting. But I do think that focusing on the OG characters, I think that's what everybody wanted. We haven't got that. And Wes Ray, let me just dispel a rumor here. Heard they made one of the kids gay. So unnecessary. Will not be taking my daughter to see this now. It depends on how old your daughter is. It's implied that there is interest from Phoebe's character to a ghost, that there's interest. They didn't make her gay. She's just curious.
No, I don't think they imply it's just the way the reactions were shot. It is ultra subtle, but you kind of got the vibe, even though you could technically say nothing happened.
Yeah, she's lonely. No one understands her, but a ghost that's around her same age.
And then they just linger on the look at both of them looking at each other,
and the way they look at each other. So, yeah, it's not. It's all beneath this. It's basically in the subtext, but as an adult, I'm like,
or we're jaded DEI hunters, and
yeah.
Because I think if you take your daughter, I don't think. Unless she's like us, who is suspicious of everything, I don't think she'll notice it.
Yeah, well, there you go. Hey, thank you for all your great commentary. We have other stuff. And will Bill S. Preston Esquire, wait. Why not a boy ghost? Exactly, says Jim T. And then Bill S. Preston Esquire. So it's virtue signaling. You can remove it for overseas audiences, but claim queer for the U.S. audience.
You don't have to remove it.
It's subtle. But yeah, like, wait, shoot. Sorry.
Like if you believe that they're putting things, it's like Frozen. We talked about Elsa being lesbian. It's kind of that thing. Yeah. It's never explicitly said, or she never acts upon it, but
Right. It's just like Sifx says she wants to become a ghost so she can touch her ghost friend. So its subtext is pretty obvious. Yeah. But it doesn't. But then that is immediately twisted in a way that we don't want to give away, which we will.
Like she's not wearing rainbow pins throughout the whole thing. She's not.
Yeah, there's not
no
anything
cause.
like in the. Yeah. None of that. All right.
There's no lecture. I think that's the biggest thing. There's absolutely no lecture in this movie.
Yeah. A lot of other films opened. We're going to talk about Roadhouse in a second. I want to touch on another movie. But just a second here. We have an offer code right now. See, like I could use your help. Like when I do stuff like this, like you can just do that without me asking.
Yeah.
We're like,
because yeah, that's right.
No, but like
he's psychic.
I'm trying to do 7 things. I'm getting inged today. That's the 3rd time today. I've been inged. Oh my God. Let's talk about You Can Call Me Bill. And it's happy birthday to William Shatner. This documentary is now in theaters. And I went to a screening of it at the Regal here in Pasadena, California. And there was some technical difficulty, and we could not see the movie, but I did see the Q&A. I've seen the trailer. Alan, you have seen the film. Tell us about You Can Call Me Bill.
Okay, so we're clear. I saw it a year ago, so we're working on a little bit of memory here. But yeah, it's a documentary about Bill Shatner, stars Bill Shatner, William Shatner, and there's a lot of shat in it. I will tell you that, and it's packed with shat. And I will say this: this is an atypical documentary about a person. it's very, like I said, we talked about Bill Shatner. He's very thoughtful. He's very philosophical about life, and this movie presents him that way. It opens with images of a tree, and he likens his life and his career to that of a tree. And not to spoil the ending, but he hopes to one day be buried underneath a tree. And the movie talks about his life, talks about his career. There's a lot of discussion about Star Trek and what Star Trek meant to him, and then life after Star Trek. This is a very, I will say this: it's a documentary, an autobiographical documentary, shot in a way that you've never seen before, in the sense of there's no real timeline going on here, but it's just kind of William Shatner sitting back and talking about his life, his career, growing up Jewish, getting on Star Trek, becoming an actor, and what acting has meant to him, his post Star Trek life, and the roles he has taken, and then ultimately he goes to space, and he gets very philosophical about ultimately finally going into outer space and seeing the world the way his character saw it from the Enterprise. So it's very different. I think the reason I couch it that way is because you may expect something different or something more traditional in the way the story is told. It's, doesn't necessarily start at the beginning of his life and go to the end, but he just kind of takes themes of his life and talks about that. And so I very much enjoyed it. I admire the man. I've admired him for a very long time. And, this is very, you're going to feel very familiar with him with this. You're going to get to know him a lot better. And I think that's what the goal is. But if you're looking for I grew up in such and such a year in this place, and, you're not going to get that kind of a documentary.
Well, you can read, there are two really good books that Shatner wrote about his life. And they did he did a sequel to it, which was really good. I read them like back when they first came out. So he's if you want that, read his books. If you want to get the timeline of his life, you can read those. But this documentary was very different. It was very different from what I can see, but I only saw the Q&A. The Q&A was very good. It was really good. So
yeah.
I want to point out also that, so I haven't seen the movie, but I did see the Q&A from the documentary. But I want to point out that this is from a company called Legion M. And Legion M, we keep talking about, hey, someone should just start a company and do stuff. This is what Legion M does. Okay, so they're a company that you can actually invest in movies. And what they do is you go to legionm.com. I know the guys from Legion M. They literally say, hey, would you like a movie like this? And then I'm going to go to their projects page. There's all these different slate of projects. And you say, oh, I like that movie. I'd like to see it get made. And you can give money towards the movie. Then you become an investor, a shareholder. And then you're invited to screenings. You're invited to parties and events related to the film that you've invested in. They're responsible for movies like Mandy with Nicolas Cage. So they've done a lot. I mean, their company, it's not like Angel Studios. It's just different in the sense that they do a lot of the stuff they do is very genre based. So they're doing a lot of genre films. They were involved in with Kevin Smith. They were involved in the documentary, which was also Alexander Philippe, who we've interviewed on the show, about Alien. If you've seen that one, Memory, the origins of Alien. So they were involved in getting that film released. So Legion M is just doing a lot. It's like they're basically doing what, like, hey, we should just start our own company and make movies. Legion M did it and found a way to do it. Their movies are low budget. They're in the multi-million, but not tens of millions. But Mandy was fantastic. And I
should also mention, unlike Kickstarter and Indiegogo, look, from what I've read, because I was seriously thinking about investing in this one, there is a return on your investment. You can actually make money doing this. Legion M and Shatner take a small percentage of of the take, but after a certain amount has been earned from distribution and theatrical, percentages are then laid out to the investors, so you can actually make money investing it. But to consult a professional. This is not legal.
Yeah. It's not legal advice. Consult a professional. But I like philosophically what Legion M is doing. And when you look at the kinds of movies they make, they're not particularly, political in any way. And they mostly are in the realm of genre, sci-fi, horror, documentaries. But their documentaries are pop culture documentaries. I even talked to them about Attack of the Doc. In terms of release, I went a different direction. But we had a conversation if it would make sense on their release plans. So there you go. So that's interesting. This is and the book I was thinking about, I have both copies of it. It's Star Trek Memories. Look up. That is, to me, I read that book back when it first came out. But Star Trek Memories is the name of the book, and there is a sequel to that book. It's really just Shatner telling stories. And it's and there you go. So check that out. I did film the Q&A. I'm just gonna post it for members only. So if you're a member of the channel, check it out later today. I'm gonna post. I got a couple things to post. So look at the videos in our members only section, and thank you to our members. Now let's go to your comments real quick from Adellis24 on Rumble. There is an AI if you want to chat with Bill Shatner. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
What's the point of that? You talk to the AI.
Okay. All right. I'm going to present this. Okay. The link will be in the description for this episode. Here is Shatner.
Oh, okay.
And you can talk to him.
Okay. Now I understand.
Yeah. What do I do here?
That's a bit creepy.
Hey, Bill. Happy birthday.
Well, that stumps me. I'm stumped.
Oh my God. Hilarious. Yeah. Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah, you got to mute yourself when he answers.
Oh, well, you do that. Can you do that, Alan?
Okay.
Well, I keep saying I need help. I don't want to get inged again. Hey, Bill, what is your favorite episode of Star Trek?
Probably my favorite is City on the Edge of Forever with Joan Collins. She's a lovely actress and a lovely lady, and the theme is important.
Okay, Spock or McCoy? Choose one.
I really can't remember. We must have met on the set. Apparently, we did an hour show of something together, but our paths never crossed. So we must have met at a Star Trek first moment on the set. What I do remember was maybe the first shows, couldn't have been many after that, when Spock was supposed to knock somebody out. And Leonard said, I haven't thought of that. My character wouldn't do that. So what would your character do? He says, oh, I don't know. Turn around, Bill. So I turned around and he pinched me on the shoulder and I fell to the ground. And the Spock pinch, that's what I would do. So it became the Spock pinch because his character wouldn't knock anybody out. It was wonderful. It's a wonderful actor thing. He knows his character so well that the character wouldn't do that. So you got to invent something the character would do, and it becomes that so typical and beautiful. But he was tall and and deep voice, and acting teacher, and he was wonderful.
He answered.
All right. Okay. Last question. Captain Kirk is a ladies' man. How do you feel about green women?
I'm watching you ask this question, and you're going, how much? Like a swagger. Hey, he swaggers around. Well, I guess I swagger.
That's what can you say?
All right.
Okay. We'll put a link in the description there, but hey, AI Kirk, I'll take it. That's awesome.
We finally had William Shatner on the show.
Yeah. So you recommend You Can Call Me Bill. It's playing in limited release.
Yeah, I do. You like I said, you're not going to get the traditional documentary here, but you will get William Shatner, definitely.
Let's go to some quick comments here, and we have one last film to review for today. Dan Aykroyd got a Hummer from a ghost, says Thomas Pickett for 2. Yes, I remember vividly. Mark Clement, can you buy that giant inged stamp at the Film Threat store? Not yet, but we could make that an option. Shatner's 93. What's his secret, says Rhys Mack. Ask him. Go to the AI. Go to the AI. The link will be in the description. Put the link in the chat, too, if you wouldn't mind, Miss P. Coffee. Thank you so much. Alan Horkin, there are various traditions that include planting a tree as part of the burial, sometimes directly on the grave. Seems like a cool idea.
Mhm.
You can even wear like a mushroom suit. You put on like this mushroom cloth that goes on the body that basically then, breaks down the body. I saw a TED talk about that. It's very interesting. And Roma Steve says, so just like Shatner, he says whatever. I think it's great. I love it. All right. One last film to talk about today until we get to our interview. Just a second. Well, I need help.
Yes.
Like listen to
but
Alan talk.
your way of asking for help is read my mind, anticipate my thoughts. No, most people in the world say, hey, I need help. Can you do this? And then we do. No, most of it's like, I'm thinking of this right now. Can you do it?
Well, yeah, it's inged is going to become a thing. It's been the thread through the whole show today. Getting inged. All right. It's here. The remake we didn't know we needed. The original 1989 Roadhouse. I don't know that it was actually a hit when it came out, but it's one of those sort of staples that, like, if you're ever flipping through channels and you see Roadhouse, you just
it found life beyond the theatrical.
And in fact, I don't even think it was a big theatrical release. It was bigger later when it came out on VHS and later to cable, because it's just such a simple premise. The new Roadhouse, the Roadhouse reboot, wasn't something people were asking for, but here it is. And it's kind of different. The new Roadhouse, which is on Prime, not in theaters, by the way, stars Jake Gyllenhaal. He is a former UFC fighter who is feared by all. He's recruited by a young woman who has a bar called Roadhouse in the Florida Keys, and she's willing to pay him a huge sum of money, about $5,000 a week, to come and fix things because there are unsavory elements that have infiltrated this bar. Jake Gyllenhaal takes her up on the offer, heads to the Florida Keys, where he's met with a group of guys that are looking for trouble, and they're starting trouble for a reason, because someone wants that Roadhouse. Some rich a-hole wants that Roadhouse so they can do a development in the Florida Keys. The only thing stopping him is this little dive bar. So unsavory characters infiltrate the bar, and Jake Gyllenhaal as this character, I mean, he is jacked Gyllenhaal at this point. Ripped. He's ripped. He keeps having these memories and flashbacks to his UFC fight where something snaps in him and he crosses a line and has regrets. So his way of dealing with a lot of these characters that come looking for trouble at this bar is that he asks, it's really great scene within the first like 30 minutes of the film. He asks them if they have health insurance. He basically beats the crap out of like 4 or 5 dudes and then drives them to the hospital as a favor because he's a nice guy. He ultimately knows he can hurt them. He knows he can take them all out. Things escalate. He ends up in a relationship with a young woman who he's met. He becomes famous in the town because he doesn't take it. He ends up schooling and mentoring one of the young bouncers at the bar, so he doesn't have to do all the work all the time. And I'll say this, I was entertained. The fighting scenes are really good. They're creative. Where the movie goes off the rails is in the third act, because the stakes rise. It becomes so ridiculous. It becomes an action movie. And there are things that the character does where you're like, wait, what? So I'll say this. I was sold for the first hour of this movie. I was digging it. And then in the third act, it gets a little, it escalates to an extreme where it becomes unbelievable, where you're like, what? No. And then there are all these digital effects that are, I have to say, it was very creative. The other thing that kind of threw the film off is in the middle of the movie, Conor McGregor shows up. And Conor McGregor is, let me just, I'll go back to sharing screen here because I want to show you this, all the characters, right? So Jake Gyllenhaal is this character, Dalton. But then you have Conor McGregor enters, and he's a guy who's going to fix things. He is Knox. And he has sort of one acting style. Because Conor McGregor, UFC fighter, he's not an actor, but he's smiling. He has this grin the entire movie and doesn't ever change from that. And he's a badass that doesn't care about anything. So his turn as it is sort of one note, and we get it, and it's just over. The thing is this, the third act of the film becomes so over the top as to be ridiculous. I can't say it wasn't satisfying to see people who deserve it get their just desserts. That was satisfying. I can't say I didn't have fun, but did we really need this? I don't know. The other thing about this film.
Hello.
Yeah. That's the love interest is Ellie, played by Daniela Melchior.
And this is how she was dressed throughout the whole film.
Yeah, and Post Malone, Austin Post Malone, whatever, plays a character named Carter. He's more there for comic relief, which was kind of fun. Actually, that worked for me. Jessica Williams, wasn't she on? She was on The Daily Show. Plays Frankie. She's the owner of the bar. Billy Magnuson,
Rich asshole.
He's the rich a-hole. Yeah, you can just tell by the way he dresses.
Yeah.
With that, it's not pink, it's salmon. That's what every guy that wears pink always says. It's not pink, it's salmon. No, it's pink. Billy, played by Lucas Gage, is also, he's the bouncer that is mentored another bouncer, Sam. Just all around, like, good cast. I'll say the thing that, like, it just gets so over the top near the end that you just like it's sort of separates from reality. It becomes.
Let me ask you this: when you say over the top, the one thing that really turned me off from the trailer is that the movie felt overly CG for a fist fight movie.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
is that
right.
the over top you're referring to,
Yes.
or
yeah?
Okay.
It's just the first half of the film is grounded in a reality. When Conor McGregor comes in, it gets ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got like the pressure is put on the Roadhouse to fix things. But I'll say this, it's over the top in maybe some of the best ways, where I wish I'd seen this at a theater.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the stuff that happens in terms of the fights are so over the top. With an audience, it would have been great. Huge mistake to not release this in the theater. It's not a great movie, but it's a fun movie. Definitely like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I recommend it if you've got Amazon Prime. Most people do. They don't even know because they're just, hey, I want free shipping. Oh, a streaming service? Well, that makes sense. But I actually really, at the end of the day, enjoyed it. 1, Jake Gyllenhaal's performance. 2, oh my God, I should not have given a thumbs up because that Apple now does this thing where it pops it. I hate that. How do I turn that off? Don't do it.
Doesn't work for me. I'm not on Apple.
It works for me, right? Look, see there.
Oh, there it is.
I hate it. Anyways, Jake Gyllenhaal's performance really worked. grounded in reality, at least for the first half of the film, worked.
Yeah.
The fact that the movie changes to sort of like beyond reality, and you're seeing characters do things you did not expect that they would do. It's revealed why he has this sort of calm demeanor as he takes people out. There's a reason the character acts the way he does. I do like it. There's this thread at the beginning. He makes friends with this young girl who works at a bookstore with her father. And the young girl basically likens his story to a sheriff in a Western coming, to a strange town where he must drive out the bad element. That's effectively the story. And it is like that. It's a modern Western. And I'll say, look, kudos to Doug Liman for going for it. He really swung for the fences with this thing. But why was this not opened in theaters at least for a couple weeks? The experience of I'm watching this late at night. I've seen Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This just came out. I come home. I'm up till 1 a.m. watching this. And I thought I would have fallen asleep while I was watching it. I did not. It had my attention the whole time. And I had a good time. I had a really good time. So I recommend it. It's also, there's nothing the kinds of things we see in modern movies that turn us off. This movie has none of that. I mean, it is, and as just a UFC fan, and I liked Conor McGregor, that one fight where he broke his leg, or his foot, that was crazy. That was crazy. So you will find me at the 35er in Pasadena. Now they're playing UFC fights. They play them in the basement, and it used to have to pay 10 or 20 bucks for a wristband. Now you can just go there and they play play the fights in the basement for free, which I love.
Well, I'll say this to your comment. It premiered at South by Southwest in a theater, and I believe the audience was similar to Monkey Man. It was pretty split, male female, and the women loved seeing guys with their shirts off
because women love strong men. Get it through your head. Hey, people, if you work in Hollywood, why don't you just have strong men in your movie? Because women like it, men like it. Men want to be strong, like the men that they see on screen, and women probably want to do stuff to those men. And that's what, there you go. I'm not, so there you are.
Yeah. And, from my understanding, it was always meant for streaming. It was never meant to have a theatrical, which is a weird decision to make, especially knowing that beforehand. You have to think they could at least made some money putting it out in limited release and seeing if it could gain some steam and then put it on your streaming channel.
Well, this is, theaters need releases. If this movie came out during the summer, would have been a huge hit. Timing is bad. They're throwing it up on Amazon Prime in March. Big mistake. Yeah. But the point is it's Doug Liman made a deal. His deal was you can make the movie for less. I think it was like 60 million. Make the movie for 60 million and we'll release it to theater.
Yeah.
If you make the movie for 80 million, we're just going to put it direct to Prime.
Okay.
And he chose the higher budget so you could make a better movie. But he was stuck with that deal. So him complaining about that deal is actually not fair. It's not fair because that was the deal he made. But huge mistake. By the way, I forgot to point out Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. You know how much the budget was? 100 million.
No.
Yeah, look it up.
How does that happen?
I don't know. It just happens.
So this movie could actually make money.
Yes. Yeah, it could. It could.
Yeah, because I believe Ghostbusters 2016 was 250 million.
Okay, let's go to your comments and questions. Here, I recommend Roadhouse.
Okay.
A lot of fun. Should have been in theaters. And it gets a little over top at the end in the third act, but I forgive it for that. And I kudos to Doug Liman. There are some action sequences here and the fight scenes. The one interesting thing about the fight scenes are like the camera is very close. And in some of the fight scenes, you become the person getting punched or giving punches. So it's like a video game feel to it. I recommend Roadhouse. Let's go to your comments and questions before we get to our special guest today. You have the filmmakers behind Winnie-the-Pooh, Blood and Honey Part 2. Nerd Cookie says, lol, do stuff to those men. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Thank you, Nerd Cookies. Always appreciate you. Red Pill Rants for $4.99. We have McGregor and Gyllenhaal in a Roadhouse remake and Mike Tyson getting ready to fight Jake Paul. What parallel universe are we living in? Exactly. Thank you for that. And Thomas Pickett for $5. Wouldn't the cost be low to show in theaters? It is all digital. They already made the movie. They're paying money to advertise it. It costs money to release a movie in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Press costs, media. You're basically doubling the budget. To release this in theaters would have cost tens of millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Advertising. It's not free to release a movie in theaters. You're effectively add another 50 million to release in theaters.
Yeah, all the distribution costs as well. Yeah.
But I think what it does is it raises the value of a film. Raises the value. Thank you, Thomas Pickett. Thoughts on Fitness with Nigel. It became a cartoon at the end. That's exactly it. That was what I was looking for. It just got super cartoony and ridiculous where you're like, well, no one would have survived that. That's kind of crazy. And yeah, I forgive it, but I preferred the tone of the first half. Thank you. I'm glad someone else saw it.
I mean, this is why I don't like Fast and Furious. It's computer animation car chases. It felt like CG fist fights.
Yeah, it felt like Fast and the Furious with fists. Triple Threat 305. The director was upset as well, said he was told was being released in theaters and Amazon decided against it. That, I believe, has been debunked. He had a choice and made his choice. I think his thought was, if I make a really good movie, they'll release it to theaters.
Yeah, they'll back out of their deal.
And Beerosaurus Rex says, didn't the original go pretty crazy in third act too? God, I haven't seen the original in
That's Patrick
years.
Swayze, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, but I just remember it's always like, I remember every time I saw that movie, I never watched the whole movie. I watched parts of the movie. So kind of weird that way. Yeah. Anyways, you know what? In spite of all of that, I recommend it. I recommend it. All right. We have special guests here to join us. Wait, did we? Yes. We have some special guests that are about to join us here. We're going to reset and get ready. This is going to be a bumpy ride. I'm just telling you. Yeah, you got to keep up. Yeah, Keep it up. Keep it up.
Rock it hard. Make it work. And make it so.
We have with us today the filmmakers behind the sequel to Winnie-the-Pooh, Blood and Honey. And it's creatively called Winnie-the-Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I'm sure that's for branding. Director Rhys Frake-Waterfield and producer actor Scott Christopher Robin Chambers are joining us on the show today. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us here. Rhys is here. Scott is here. I paid, by the way, I already have tickets to see the movie next week. It's opening on Wednesday at my AMC theater. I'm going to see the film
through Fathom Events.
I saw the first film in the theater. The audience went nuts. First of all, it was 100% sold out at the AMC Burbank 16. People were laughing. The deaths just had people wailing and laughing. First of all, the first film, why? And the second film, why?
So, thanks so much for going to see it. And that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's meant to be a bit like, it's like popcorn horror. It's fun. With the first film, obviously when it went into the public domain, me and Scott kind of like ran with it and we got it out quite quickly. But with the sequel, we actually had like a significantly higher budget and more time to do the filming. So hopefully that shows in the trailer on your screen now. But it's still absolutely wild. So if you thought number one was crazy, just wait till you see number two. There's like 60 deaths in it, I think. When you get to the end, it's absolutely relentless. And there was so much, I've had to cut about 7 death scenes from it.
Oh my God. Well, we're looking at the trailer now, getting a glimpse of it. I had a really good time at the first one because the audience knew what this was. It's a slasher movie, simple. I love that there's like a jacuzzi scene in it. There are attractive women that are sexy, and it's playing on, look, it was all, I mean, it was all an adult audience. This is not a movie for kids in the least, but how do you before we talk about part two, just going back to part one, when did you know the rights were going to revert to public domain? How did you plan this out? And now you've created what looks to be, if the second one's very good, I assume there'll be a third. So just tell us like the whole threading the needle with Disney and you know, getting away with doing this, and I mean in all the best of ways.
So yeah, in January, was, I think it was 2022, was it, or 2023? I can't remember now. Getting my years mixed up. When it became in the public domain, we filmed it about 2 or 3 months later. There are certain things you have to be careful of when with like these kind of IPs when they've gone in the public domain, because you can only take the source material from the time. So that first book, the 1926 book, whatever is in there has to be your like foundation and your base. All the iterations coming off of that, so Disney's iteration of Winnie-the-Pooh and all of their additions with it, we had to basically steer clear of. So that's why we were very, very careful in the first film, and we avoid him being in a little red t-shirt. He's got trousers on in our one. It would have been scarier if he didn't have trousers on, I think. But so we had to make sure that was the case. Some of the certain phrases, the mannerisms. So like there's quite an iconic voice the Disney Winnie-the-Pooh has. And a lot of people wanted us to, utilize that and have that in the first film, but we can't, otherwise we'd be sued into oblivion. So those sort of elements we had to kind of tiptoe around. And then, but going into the sequel, that's allowed us to have like 1 or 2 years more of additions into the Winnie-the-Pooh world, like the public domain world, hence why Tigger's now in it. So some of these characters can go in there. We can kind of be a bit more looser with their dialogue and as they're talking. So you'll see from the trailer, they're a lot more vocal this time than the first film.
Yeah. So have you been approached by Disney at all? Has that happened?
No. We've been I think we've been really, really careful with what we've done, and our kind of interpretation of it is so far gone from theirs that I think there's no risk someone's going to confuse the two. One of them's like a 2 or 3 foot little bear. Our one looks quite horrific and he's killing people in jacuzzis and stuff.
Can I ask you, was it the book, A.A. Milne's book, that went into public domain, or was it Disney's original cartoon, the first one?
Book, yeah. So A.A. Milne's book in 1926, that was the first ever kind of version of Winnie-the-Pooh, which was out there, and then Disney built on that, and then they created their version of him subsequently. So the only thing which is currently actually available to use as source material is that first version, the 1926, and now also the 1928 book.
Okay.
We've got wow, almost 700, more than 700 people watching us live right now on YouTube and Rumble. I do have a question for Scott. Do you, as Christopher Robin, were you a fan of the old? I grew up watching the Winnie the Pooh cartoons. I loved them. They were specials on TV when I was a kid. Loved them. My kids, I got them the videos so they could watch. Were you a fan of it? And then how does this make you feel playing an iconic character?
So no, I wasn't really a fan of it. I've been watching horror films since I was honestly about 6 years old. So like I started with Scream and Species and stuff like that. So I was never really actually like into kids stuff that much when I was little. The most amount of kids stuff that I was into was stuff like Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like I wasn't really into kids stuff. And I don't know, I was really scared saying yes to this because obviously I wasn't Christopher Robin in the first one. And Rhys said that he wanted to revamp the film because obviously on the first one we made it on £20,000, and there's like this rumor, this lie out there that it's like we had 100 grand. We didn't. We had £20,000, which in dollars is like what, 25 grand or something. So it was made on next to nothing, and it was made in 6 days as well. And we did manically do some reshoots when it went nuts overnight. We weren't expecting it. So then when Rhys said, look, with the sequel, I kind of want to make it the first one a movie within a movie, which is going to help me, redesign the characters. I'm going to need a new Christopher Robin. And he'd been like, because obviously I've been doing my acting for many years as well. And he's been like very supportive of that and like, very nice about my acting. And he said, I think you'd be good as Christopher Robin. And I really was nervous, mostly because it's very intimidating going into something where people actually want to be horrible, and they, when you're an actor and stuff, it is very vulnerable what you're doing, and putting yourself in a situation where it's like it's like beyond being vulnerable. It's like you're asking to be attacked. I was a bit nervous about it, to be honest. But ultimately, I do believe in Rhys, and Matt Leslie came on board to write it, and I really think he's great. So I just thought, screw it. I love horror films, using my imagination to that degree. So I thought, go for it. But I am very nervous about next week.
well, I mean, first of all, I heard a rumor that the movie was made for 60 grand. I couldn't believe it. 60 grand US. I couldn't believe it, and that it was shot in a crazy amount of time. And just seeing it, it's toe and toe with like you're seeing what you get, what you see is what you get. It's a slasher horror film based on the property Winnie-the-Pooh, and I thought the first film was really fun, mainly because the audience howled every time somebody got murdered. I mean, it was bloody, gory, gratuitous. It also had sexy women, which we don't always see in horror films anymore. And just based on the glimpse of the trailer that we got from part 2, looks like that tradition is being carried on. And it's just, it's the first film, but more. I can't believe you pulled it off. And what I didn't believe, because I bought tickets, I'm like, nobody's going to be in the theater. I walked into a 100% full theater for part 1, which is why I bought tickets for part 2, because I know that the same audience is going to they're going to show up, right? They are going to show up and be there for it.
Let's also be real. You guys, the winner is the one who comes in first, and you guys came in first, and that was I mean, kudos to you guys. That's amazing.
We got like 700 people watching us live. We have a lot of comments and questions here. I'm going to start with some super chats. We'll get to those. And book_Mark for 10 pounds. Looking forward to it. It looks gruesome. Yes, I love it. That's great. Other comments here from Rumble. With Tigger being the newest addition to the Blood and Honey canon, what was the main thing you planned with that character that you were excited to bring to the screen? And do you think you pulled it off?
So, because we've got like 3 or 4, we got 4 villains in this one. In the first one, we only had 2. As the films, go on, I got number 2, number 3. I have to just keep adding more and more creatures on there, and Tigger was one of them. I'd done a little bit of research before to see, what was everyone's favorite character, and most people, they gravitate towards Pooh or Tigger. They're like the two big ones. So we knew we had to add him in there. And something I wanted to do with this one, which wasn't really as present in the first film, is to make each of the characters a bit distinctly different in terms of how they're attacking people and how they're killing people. So because we've got Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Owl, there's kind of sprinkles of some kind of iconic horror villains, and my personal favorites like Michael Myers and Jason. There's a bit of him in like Winnie-the-Pooh. Like when he gets into a room, he just wants to smash heads off and then get out as quick as he can. Whereas when you get to Tigger, to make him distinctly different, I wanted him to be a bit more like sadistic. So whereas Pooh just wants to knock their heads off, Tigger wants to make them suffer, and he wants to watch them suffer and enjoy it. So there's like these like Freddy Krueger, maybe like Art the Clowny kind of vibes to him. So you'll see in some of the scenes, I think there was one teased out where he's poked out these girls' eyes, and he's just kind of slicing her back a little bit, just watching her like crawl around blind, suffering. And he's opened up a little hatch, so he's trying to guide her into falling down the hole. So, but everyone loved that. Like we've had really, really good reactions to that, and there's loads of other death scenes like that. He's yeah, he just tries to make
about 60 people die in this. Literally,
Yeah, a
the
lot.
body count is about 60, and that's not like the quality suffers. There's some really wicked deaths that haven't
Yeah, there's
even
some
been
crazy
teased
stuff.
at yet. Like my favorite ones aren't even in the trailers or anything. It's
No,
crazy.
And there's another element with Tigger I want to add in them is add into him was in this world he's been kind of locked away. So they had this like separate little room, and he's kind of like chained off, and he's left in there with all these dead bodies and stuff. So he's got a lot of pent up energy. So when you see him, I was kind of like directing the actor to imagine he's on like 20 or 30 Red Bulls. So you'll see in some of the clips he's like shaking. So when he's got his claw out, his claw is shaking and his face is shaking. It's because he's got so much energy and he just wants to rip people apart.
The chat's on fire with comments here. Let me just read a bunch of the comments and we have more questions. Where are your trousers, Mr. Pooh? Says Joseph. Anonymous, they forgot to feed Eeyore. No. And Devin Carter, maybe he's a friend of yours. Hey, Rhys, we're selling it well.
That's Premier Entertainment. Yeah, they're
great.
yeah.
I had to ask you, how did you get on Peacock?
Brock Samsonite says, let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks they can win at Pooh Stick Bridge. Watch out, Winnie's poop knife.
Oh,
there you go.
Pooh
Pooh
Sticks.
Stick.
There is a scene in the new film which pays
my
homage
God.
to Pooh Sticks. So
Yeah.
look out for that.
Scott Christie Jones says, makes me proud to be British. And
Oh.
Mike MC Wong says, when Mickey Mouse goes public domain, you should make a better serial murderer than Pooh. Mickey Mouse is naturally scary. Actually, there is a group of people that have made a Mickey Mouse movie. We interviewed them, but they're holding the release because it's got to come out at a certain time. So that already exists. So another question here from Rumble, ADellis24 asks, with Steamboat Willie entering the public domain, when will we be seeing Pooh versus Mickey, Dawn of Corporate Resistance? Have you thought about a crossover with some other public domain characters?
Scott, do you want this one?
Yeah, so we actually announced this week Pooniverse Monsters Assemble, and it's gonna it's gonna have all of them, but not Mickey. We're not going anywhere near that just because the legalities are. I don't think they're quite what people think, so we're avoiding that. That will not be in our world at all. But we're gonna have Winnie-the-Pooh. We're gonna have Piglet, Tinkerbell, Peter Pan, Rabbit, Tigger. I'm trying to think like Pinocchio.
We've shot
Bambi
Bambi.
is going to be in it. Yeah.
So there's going to be a scene where Pooh's riding Bambi with his bear trap.
There's going to be a massive crossover. Yeah. Like Avengers, but horror is our goal.
Well, guess what? From Variety, Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey Team. Pooniverse. Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey Team to unite Pooh, Bambi, Tinkerbell, and more in low budget horror crossover. So this is not out. Wait, there's a teaser poster here. What is this? Oh my God. This is amazing. 6 years after Avengers Infinity War, another film is vying to become the most ambitious crossover event in history, this time in the lower budget cinematic realm. The filmmakers behind Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey, the micro budget slasher that sparked headlines for turning AA films, blah, 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 blah. You guys made $5.2 million at the box office for a movie that cost under 50 grand.
We didn't personally get that, but yeah.
Yeah, we didn't personally get that.
I was gonna say, but that is
we wish.
incredible. That is
my question:
incredible.
how did you get on Peacock?
So that was actually our distributor. So we're with ITN Studios, and they have handled kind of all the release in like the US. So I don't know how that's happened, but yeah, it's apparently it's been doing very well on there.
A lot more questions here. Let's get to these. Solomon Thornton says, "Greetings, Sir Scott and Sir Rhys. You've been knighted. What was your process for getting this film made?"
So with the first one, it was actually really easy because there wasn't really much like capital needed for it. We had the idea. We saw like it went into the public domain, and then we just messaged the like company we normally work with, and said we think this could be really big. Not as big as it was, but we wanna make it and stuff. And then they just greenlit and went, yeah, okay. So then we went ahead with that, and then with the sequel obviously wasn't hard to get going, because you can see like the kind of returns the first film has made. So everyone was like pushing us to make it, basically.
Devin Carter comes in with a correction, says 7 million box office. It wasn't all reported. That's I mean, look, I feel when you look at movies like Terrifier, right? Terrifier 1 and 2. Terrifier 2 made over 10 million at the box office. It's a movie funded. I mean, it was made for like 250, 300 grand, but it made 10 million at the box office. More of that, I think, is necessary. So here you go. Let's see. I know you guys are limited on time, but we have a lot of questions. Get through as many of these as possible. Brock Samsonite says, in this movie, is Pooh a cannibal? I just want him to say, I must rescue my supper, as he chases down his next victim.
So he's half, all of these animals, they're like half human, half creature. So it's like half human, half bear. So in terms of being a cannibal, I don't know. They will eat people. They do like to eat people, so I think that qualifies them for it. Yeah.
All right. Razorburn asks, question to Scott and Rhys. So when will we be expecting Pooh, Tigger, and other action figures to be released for this new cinematic universe? Would look great on my shelf. Is there any merchandising? Can you merchandise it?
So yeah, at the moment we do have a website. It's on the Instagram for Winnie-the-Pooh, but at the moment it's just t-shirts and stuff. We do want figures. We reached out to NECA and Trick or Treat, but they're not interested at this time. So I guess we'll just see how this carries on, and hopefully they'll jump on board a bit later. But we do have something releasing. I can't remember what it is. It's like a bobblehead or something like that. It's like a little figure sort of thing. But we'll definitely advertise it on Instagram, Twitter, and all that kind of stuff when it's ready.
And I think because the film's getting released in so many different territories, Japan are doing a release, and they seem to always do figures.
Yeah, they're really good at it.
Yeah, we actually had some figures from Japan last year, so there's a chance you'll be able to get some there. But in terms of like US,
here it is. We can see it right here.
Well,
you got official merch. You can get a hoodie.
Yeah.
Look at that. All right, just now set up Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey. Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey shop.com. There we go. It exists. That's awesome. A link will be in the description. More questions here from Jimmy Francis. Besides using the characters, do you use any themes, scenes inspired by parts of the book? I think you talked about that.
Yeah. So basically, I got together with Matt Leslie, and he was like the writer of this, and we were brainstorming for like 2 or 3 months, and we tried to do that as much as possible. So looking at the source material, what can we use and get inspired from to implement some of those elements. So for example, as mentioned about the Pooh sticks, they have like Pooh sticks bridge. So we wanted a scene which was like just tongue-in-cheek with Pooh sticks. Also in the traditional Winnie-the-Pooh illustrations with the book, there's like this kind of like 2D map, and you can see the 100-acre wood and some of the other areas that kind of features in the film. So there's a lot of stuff which is just like sprinkled throughout the film, and like Easter eggs.
And well, I mean, I'll twist it up. Is Pooh 2 going theatrical? I have tickets for next Wednesday. Is it only in theaters for a day, or is it like special screenings?
3 days. 3 days through Fathom. 3 days through Fathom events, the 26th through the 28th.
Yeah. Got it. And well, super chat here. Thank you. 999 from James Carroll says, "Is there any bloody Pooh in the movie?"
Pooh gets bloody, but I don't know if there's bloody Pooh.
Fair. Hey, you answering all the questions. And from Rumble again, Adelis24, what was it like working with former Paul Atreides, Alec Newman?
Oh yeah, we love Alec. Alec he plays the dad, like Alan Robin, so A.A. Milner, so Scott's dad in the film. And yeah, he was really, really nice. Like, he came into it knowing what it was going to be. Like, we still didn't have the biggest budget in the world. Like, most studio films, horror, they're like 10 million or so. We didn't have that. But he got really stuck in. He didn't care. Like, he's used to bigger sets, and he was grafting, and just not. It's not like he was trying to. He was getting annoyed with the low budget nature of it. He was like jumping in, making people tease, and doing all sorts of stuff as well. Yeah, we loved him.
And then a final question here. Luke Broer says, I saw Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey, and I thought the scene of the character retelling her traumatic story of an intruder in her house was so well written and directed. It was really effective. I have to second that from Luke. The quality of this film was so much better than my expectation. I just saw the teaser trailer and I'm like, oh, I'm there. Just because just anything is like a middle finger to Disney, but also just a fun, back to old school horror films, right? I think horror is, it's going through something right now. Let's just say that, but there is some really good, I just like going back to like old school horror. This reminds me of like the old Halloween, just like, you know what? They're women and men in peril and something's trying to kill them and go. That was the whole movie. And even like the opening of Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey, that little sort of animated thing kind of telling the story, the audience was laughing their asses off. I mean, it was just great. So cheers to you guys and congrats on the success. Any final thoughts? I know you got to get to other interviews today.
As long as people like when the film comes out, if you see it in the cinema, honestly, it's a theatrically focused film. Like, if that makes sense, like it makes sense it's the best experience you'll get is watching it in a theater, because everyone's going to be cheering, everyone's going to be like yelling about what's happening, because there's just so much like death in the film, and they're really creative and fun deaths. So try and watch it in the theaters if you can, rather than at home.
Yeah, I would second that. I think we had our premiere and it was, I've never been in a cinema experience like it. It was nuts. And there is about 60 or more deaths in this. And there's dishwashers with knives and eyes involved. There's bear traps involved, limbs getting, like literally an arm getting snapped backwards. I have a chainsaw on fire trying to kill me. It's nuts. Definitely I'll watch it.
So what you're saying is this movie's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. You'll have a lot of fun with an audience. Yeah.
Great. Well, congratulations. The film opens next. What's the date?
It's the 26th through the 28th, starting Tuesday to Thursday.
26th through 28th. Go see it. I already have my tickets. Scott and Rhys, thank you so much. Congrats on the film. Come back to talk about the Poohniverse movie, please.
Sounds
Please come
good.
back for Poohniverse. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks.
Awesome.
See you
Thanks
later.
so much.
Bye
Bye.
now. Bye.
Bye.
There we go. That was great.
That
was great. All right.
I gotta get my tickets.
Yeah, no, we'll review it probably next Wednesday or Friday. We'll review it. But there you go.
Well, Friday. You're saying it Wednesday, so we'll review it
I can change my ticket to Tuesday. Right? Maybe I'm seeing a different movie on Tuesday. Got to check my schedule. We'll review it for sure. Just so we have a review on the site. And here we go from Rumble, BMO Better sub supporter. I could see a version of the movie where Jay, drunk 3PO, is like an Ash from the Evil Dead series, causing problems for the killers. I just like the level of ambition. The fact that there is a Poohniverse with classic fairy tale characters in a horror film is brilliantly ambitious. And a chat we didn't get to here from Society Reviews for 2. Frozen Empire might be the worst Ghostbusters film. Fair point. I think the 2016 Ghostbusters is the worst. I think that is the worst. Because just so many things about it. Who the villain was, the leaning, just the fact that it was very anti the original Ghostbusters, which makes no sense. I don't know why you'd want to do that, why you'd want to upset old fans, but fair. I mean, it's, look, Frozen Empire tried too hard, tried to do too many things and please too many audiences. So there you go. Well, that's it for us today. I want to say thank you to our mods, our mods, which are today, I don't know, we had lots of different mods. Thank you to Ms. P Coffee. Thank you to Glenn Brown for doing the Lord Thoth Latino slant. Thank you to both. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Alan for when I need help. Like, let's say if there's a banner that's blocking someone. In the time it takes to type, hey, there's a banner blocking someone, you can go and click the banner off. Just a suggestion. Just a suggestion. Rather than watch, see, because I'm trying to be with the audience. So I'm like with the audience, right? And people think like Chris is distracted, he's typing. I'm trying to bring up IMDb. I'm trying to bring up a banner. I'm trying to like run the show. Maybe what we need to do is restructure the show where I'm not burdened with those things. And then we can just like have a
finding
show.
the theater times for the movie.
It's just like I don't think we need 3 or 4 pictures for every movie. Just a note. We don't need 3 or 4 photos for every movie. Probably like 1 or 2, especially if it's a small indie movie. What? Okay, and also
we were instructed 3. That's
okay. Well, we're going to have a post-show meeting today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you to you for watching. Next week, Monday versus, we're talking Ghostbusters. We're talking Ghostbusters on Monday on Versus with a huge lineup of special guests. Join us for that episode of Versus on Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Then on Wednesday, we're going to talk about nepotism in the film industry. Going to be a lot of fun. Plus 3-body problem. And Alan will give us an early review of Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Is that right, Alan?
No, that will not be right because the screening is that afternoon afterwards.
Oh, you could leave early from Versus or just not do it.
It's Wednesday after the show.
It's on Wednesday. Oh, so they're screening Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. You mean the day before it opens?
Go to that screening and just see it in the theater because
what I'm saying is the fact that they're screening it so late kind of says something. And next week we'll obviously be talking about Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. It feels like summer already. It's summer in March. And I want to thank you. The channel continues to grow in spite of the terrible algorithm nonsense that we're being dealt right now. We are just getting it's affecting all channels. You see a lot of channels talking about it. We're not gonna really go off and have a discussion. All I can say is we appreciate that you show up and watch us every week because we like to have a lot of fun. So there you go. Cool. Alan, anything else that you want to say?
Just go to filmthread.com for the latest in indie reviews. And if you need something to watch this weekend, that's a great place to go to find something that's not from the big Hollywood studios.
Great. All right, Alan.
Let's get out of here.